Preview.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today or listening in to our recording today. If this is your first time listening in, thank you so much. If you're a returning listener, thank you as well for supporting this work as we push mental health, mental awareness forward. Please spread the word. Today we have a special guest and on a very dear topic to my heart, or a topic that's dear to my heart, I should say. So today's topic, we're going to dive right into coercive control. My name is Gina, PsychPRN. On my channel, I talk about everything and anything mental health. A little bit more of a focus last year and this year on toxic relationship, narcissistic relationship, coercive control, domestic violence as a big umbrella. So if you're tuning in today, obviously you might be dealing with some kind of some kind of a trauma like what I'm discussing, PTSD, from such relationship, whether it's family or through friends or even at work. Coercive control or toxic relationship or narcissistic relationship can exist there as well. So it's very broad. Even in our church families, there's a lot of control and coercion that happens there. So either you are dealing with it or you know somebody who's dealing with it and you're trying to find more knowledge base and trying to find help. So please listen in to the end and we'll throw in some resources out there to help all our listeners and put in the questions that you have. So once again, Gina Chumesi here, coming to you, PsychPRN. And today, our special guest, we have Verveline, Miss Verveline, I should say. She's a therapist. She's a licensed counselor, and she has a wealth of experience with domestic violence. She was working with specialized areas in the past, and now she has another specialized area she's focusing on in regards to young men, young adults. And I already been telling her I'm going to snatch her in towards Father's Day around there to talk about a young man, young adults, a youth, and see what kind of support we can provide before the legal system snatches them. Because 90% of our young adults, especially people of color, are locked up, and we are losing a lot of good, vibrant young men to the legal system. Even the schools, there's so much of that to uncover and unpack, but that will be in the future in June. So I'm so appreciative of your time. I've tracked you down and finally we are two busy women, but I'm so appreciative of you making time with us today to shed some light on coercive control. So thank you, and I appreciate you so much.
Hey.
So today we're going to dive right in. We're going to talk about, I'm just going to read an excerpt as I was doing the research before starting on today, and I came across this and I wanted to just throw it out there to define, and then you can add on, in regards to the definition of coercive control. So coercive control is a pattern of behavior that encompasses other abuses that may be overt or covert. The abuse is based on the need for control by the offender and is the foundation of most domestic abuse. Coercive control includes psychological abuse, such as manipulation, putting down, stripping you of dignity as a woman, occupationally making you feel like you're less than, sometimes occasionally throwing in some type of compliment. Let's say a woman who's being suppressed, abused, coerced, maybe on Mother's Day, they might get something like, hey, you're a great mother, happy Mother's Day. But all through the year, guess what? You are nothing. You're not good enough mother. You're destroying the kids. Everything is your fault. You. Going on to say, there's also intimidation, there's gaslighting, there's isolation from your friends, from your family, and it's very subtle. It starts very subtle, and then it goes on. And sometimes a lot of people might not even know that they are going through coercive control. It also may include financial abuse. And coercive control can even bubble over to sexual abuse. And I might highlight that sexual abuse in some ways, where in some communities, we have a lot of men per se. There are some women who exercise this, but majority of cases, 80 to 90% of cases from the research, the perpetrators are men. And sometimes they'll use birthing as a way to control a woman. And sometimes women might not realize, especially if you're not a woman who's already had a discussion ahead in regards to how many kids you're going to have, and you're fertile. So a year after year, you're having kids. Some of these men already been exposed, and they already have that mentality of slowing you. They see how bright you are. So they will use birthing, sexual abuse. Sometimes you might not even consent in a marriage to consenting to have sex. And you have sex, might be your fertile period, and you get pregnant. Many of our society, especially in our church world, there's no such a thing as abortion. So you, the woman, you keep having babies and babies, you're stuck. You can't go forward with your education. You can't go forward with working the way you need to. You're stunted financially, so to speak, because of the kids. Now, the last excerpt I saw was coercive control can also be from institutions, as I mentioned before, like churches, courts, government, and even other systems like the court system. Also is very institutionalized, where everything is kind of put into one umbrella. And sometimes coercive control is really not viewed as abuse. Now, one last thing before I throw it back to Vervelin, in Connecticut, at least, after the recent death of Jennifer, trying to remember her name, Jennifer something, I'm going to remember it. But anyway, her first name is Jennifer. It was a long court battle where the man, finally, he tried attempting suicide, but he died in the hospital and stuff. I don't know if you remember that. But anyway, it's called Jennifer's Law. So they're making it into a law where coercive control will be recognized in court. So you might not have scars from physical violence and all that stuff, but when you come in presenting your case, they can consider that in court in regards to separation and safety, and putting things in place to help you as a woman to feel safe after the separation period. Mind you, when you're in coercive control relationship and after a while you recognize what it is that's going on, the time of separating from the person who's causing the problem, that's the most critical time for safety of the woman and for safety of the kids. Running away to a shelter, running away to a friend's home, that's where sometimes some women can even get killed. So from the broad definition of my bubbling on about the definition, because I saw the definition, I'm like, wow, this is hands-on. This is from a psychologist. Her name is Dr. Cochiella. So I just wanted to make sure that this is an excerpt from her writing, because I was reading a lot of stuff regarding this, and this is how she described it, and it felt right. I was having goosebumps. I'm like, tick, 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 yes. All this broad definition of the abuse. So what can you tell us a little bit, Vervelin, about coercive control? What have you seen, experienced, especially in our communities of color as well?
Well, in our communities, usually sometimes it's very, very subtle. Like somebody may say to you, boyfriend, then the next thing, they say, oh, I like your hair to be in a bun today.
Right.
I don't need you to wear a weave. I need you to pull it back if you do. Then you may say, oh, because he loves me, that's why he's telling me to do this.
Yes.
But the minute you don't do it, say, did you hear what I just said? Like you're here. You're not going through the door unless you put your hair that way. And then that's when you may stop and think, or you may say, oh, he just loves my hair like this now. He's trying to control you.
Yes.
So in this area of color, even it's acceptable lot of ways because it's generational.
Right.
I used to see my dad do that, or my brother and his wife, or his girlfriend. This is what we see, and we were taught that we are supposed to be obedient to our man,
Right.
and
Submit.
sometimes submission, and sometimes this is where the church, then
Right.
I think the church have really moved past a lot of this, but it comes in to say, and they will bring the scripture, wives, submit yourself to your husband. The other part of the scripture, that say husband must also respect your wives and stuff like that.
Mm.
So culturally, we get stuck into what we know, and we're afraid of stepping out,
Stepping out.
and we're afraid of the shame that's attached to it. Because our girl may say, "Girl, don't you see you have everything?" No,
What's wrong with you? He's not beating you. He's not hitting you. Why you?
he just touched you. We normalize it. So it in our community, especially sometimes it depends on financially where you're at,
Mm-hmm.
financial independence.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like you mentioned before, a woman may be at home and she started having one, two, three, four, five, six babies.
Right.
I take care of the babies, and we don't step out to say, I need my own life.
Right.
I still got to take care of you, take care of this, but that's the way of keeping me at home, holding me. So sometimes, in our culture, we're afraid to speak because we don't want to be shamed. We consider it so much of a shame to talk about what's happening to us, and we're going to look so weak.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of, community, the shame that's attached to it, and the generation. It keeps us oppressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen, like,
Oh,
even when I was in the shelter, where people would run to the shelter, domestic shelter, but still they would talk about how their partners used to control them, and they just
mhm.
had to get out of the house. So they put themselves into a shelter because they had to get away, and
Well,
those were the strong. Usually it's after you have gotten knocked down, or you just can't take it anymore,
you can't take it anymore.
where where
Right.
where you run. So it's a big stigma, I guess, in our community, that I've seen, and from the people that I'm with. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one, and they threaten you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like you said, it can be so some of of it can be generational, and a lot of the older women in our communities, whether it's just our communities and also in our church communities, don't make it easy for the young women want to speak up or to walk away from it. Some of the cautions that will be thrown at you as a woman if you ever say something. And first of all, the church doesn't even, church and many of the people in our community there's a lot of light being shed on toxic relationship or narcissistic tendencies of some of the people who perpetrate this. So there's that shaming that comes from even the elders in the church. Like you're not being loving enough. Maybe if you love them enough, or maybe if
Yes,
if you stay quiet enough, maybe if you don't
yeah,
speak up enough, maybe if you tone it down enough as a woman. But what you don't realize is people with narcissism, majority of people who do kind of this control have those control, narcissistic. At the bottom of it is control, right? It's the need for control. Many
control,
narcissists are very insecure of their own sense of self. For them to have that sense of self, they'll have to have somebody who is vulnerable, right, to control. So we're talking before we even started the thing, talking about the issue of poverty, of poverty of money. And I think you even mentioned it, if you're lack skill, career, money, You don't have good family support as a woman to be able to get away, and you're really kind of lacked, and the person is controlling all your finances, where can you go? You don't want to see your 4 or 5 kids with you in the shelter because maybe the home you are, you're in a good place. But yet behind closed doors, you and your kiddos, they're being exposed to this constantly. And the trauma of that can even kind of cascade over to the children. And some people might stay, quote unquote, for the sake of the kids.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
But what we don't realize as a society, for me, after having to research this and having my own journey in some of this stuff, is many people, quote unquote, lacking the courage. You say it takes a lot of courage, right?
Yes.
Staying for the sake of the kids, what they see you mirroring, right? What they see you doing when they grow up, unbeknown to them, subconsciously in their mind, they will be drawn to a man who is similar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that trauma continues because you haven't modeled courage, faith in yourself, faith in the man above. Or if you're listening here, you don't believe in God, faith in the universe, that if you put it out there, you draw in and you live in fear. Can you shed some light a little bit on how do we women, when we do recognize the signs, right? Like, let's say, I have a woman once told me she went on vacation with her kids, not vacation, but she went back to home. Like for me, home would be Africa or Ghana. She went to visit. So she was, by, mind you, the dollar converting to African money, it's like a lot of money. So it wasn't like she was spending like thousands of dollars by any means, but the partner was monitoring all the money she was spending while she was there. Mind you, the woman doesn't even have any idea how much he makes or but he has control over the money. Within a week or two into their visiting her family there, he cut her off financially. She was stranded, thousands of miles away from home with her kids, with no money. And this is what the control her. So what does she have to do? She came back, she's like, oh my God, please. So like, this is how and so she started pleading, and he would just give her a little drop, like a little incentive, like, here, okay, take 100. So now he's ramping up the control even more because she has no other source of that. So somebody like that, guess what? They will choose to, okay, I'm going to shut it. I'm going to say, but sometimes they'll bottle and bottle. But I see a lot of women in my practice where they've taken it so much to the point where now they're like blowing up. So guess what? Those older women will say, oh my God, you're not humble. You're not respectful. You don't respect men. You think women of this generation, you can do whatever, talk to a man like that. Men are like that. You gotta submit. You gotta pray. You gotta fast. You gotta drive fast. This is your woman. You're very tired. You're stressed already. How do you drive fast and take care of 4 or 5 kids while you're drive fasting so your man can change? And if that man is narcissistic, there is no changing. I put a post one time that I said, this winter has been really weird, but in typical winter, when it's -3 or 5 degrees in the east, like Connecticut, you cannot change the weather or come out wearing shorts. You gotta dress up. You can't change that weather in February. It is what it is. It's gonna be freezing. So the narcissist, you can't change them. And sometimes praying alone, it's not gonna change the man. They're gonna continue or even make it worse. Oh, you went to tell the pastor that this and that was happening at home? Guess what? Your grocery money that I give you, $100, now it's gonna be 50. Next time, check yourself before you go see something out there. If you don't have any other source, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna shrivel down. You're gonna do as you're told, and you're a grown woman, but you become like a child. And I've seen it so sad when the woman is stripped of their sense of self, of their dignity, even. ever run into that in terms of their mental health, like women who struggle with depression from the trauma, sadness, anxiety, sleep deprivation from taking care of the kids and not having any support? Please shed some light on a woman who might be listening saying, what is going on with me? What am I experiencing here?
You, you have said so much and
I am.
so in all of this. And
Passion.
it brought me back to the two examples.
Yes,
One, the husband made much more money than the wife.
correct.
And kids knew this.
Right.
So when the husband, you know, in this case, he kind of stepped out or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the wife is very submissive because of her culture.
Yes.
The
Culture.
you're supposed to submit to your husband.
Mhm.
So the kids say to her, like when she is at her wits' end with whatever was happening within the home, as to being, submissive and who controls what, kids themselves say to her, Mommy, why are you complaining?
Mhm.
And you can't tell me what to do. Because you don't do anything in this house.
Right.
Daddy pays the mortgage.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
So now that was her male child that was telling this to her. I don't have to respect you. I don't have to do anything you say
Yes.
because daddy does it all, which
Oh,
was kind of sort of not true.
right.
However, she had to humble herself, or she chose to humble herself while she came and complained. She complained to me or whatever about it because now it so
Right.
being presses as well because we go back to learned behavior.
Right.
So this was an African family, and you bring the elders in to have the conversation. You talk to the
A
elder
meeting.
brother.
Yes.
Yes, they have
Family
that
meeting.
meeting. Yes,
Yes.
it's
That
not from
intimate meeting.
yes. So they have the meeting, and what comes out of the meeting is that my sister, my daughter, you have to listen to your husband. The kids are right. He
Mm-hmm.
takes care of all of you. So you need to give him a break and you need to listen to him.
Right.
You can't be raising your voice or you can't be fussing with him because that's not your place.
That's not your place.
So her, she was kind of pulling out her hair as she was complaining, or not even complaining, but just expressing herself in a safe place. Like, what do I do? Because now my kids are on me as well.
Right.
And that puts her, and because of culture, she's not going to go anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
She's going to stay there and be subjected to it. Like, Miss V, I can't leave. What? I got to stay.
Right.
Not part of our culture.
Not part at all.
So sometimes what is wrong, but because she's bound by cultural norms and values within the home and within the community,
And religion. Yeah.
the religion was one thing. The religion didn't part in this one. It was because of the cultural norms.
Norms.
She
Right.
can't go anywhere. She stay there and suffer through it and figure it out. As the elder brother said to her, you got to figure it out.
Figure it out. My
Yes.
God.
So the man was not held accountable for anything that he was doing.
Was
The
not.
male children in the home were not held accountable for anything that they had said to their mother, the disrespect that continues through the male children.
Yes.
But at the same time, you had the daughter who was saying, Mommy, you shouldn't have to take this.
Right.
So sometimes you're bound by culture into this unhealthy relationship. And as she was seeking in terms of different ways, because I never tell anybody to do or to leave your wife.
Yes.
But I say you got to take care of yourself.
Right.
Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of the family.
Right.
You have to value yourself and what do you want for yourself. That's important because this man, as you speak about him, the narcissistic personality that he has, he knows what these norms are. And so he's going to keep you there.
Oh, yes, for
As
sure.
long as you keep this mouth closed, he's going to keep you there. So I will say to any woman out there, if you're in a similar situation, speak up. Find somebody who will listen to you because this should not be your norm.
No.
It should never be your norm where you are first, whether it be financially, any kind of the alleys, sexually, any kind of which way you want to take it. That control is unhealthy. And it's okay for you to respectfully. You don't have to be disrespectful or anything. And fasting and praying, you did bring about the church in terms of fasting and praying. Yes, we can fast and pray. And God is an awesome God.
Right.
But at the same time, he gives us wisdom.
Wisdom.
And at the same time, as I brought about the children, he said, train up a child in the way they should go. So if you're training up the children to see the issues of this kind of oppression, not suppression, well, it's kind of suppressing, oppression and suppression too. If
as I call it, domestic terrorism is what
terrorism, yes. So if you're training up your child in the household of their domestic terrorism, then this is the child you're going to put out there.
Yeah.
So if you do love your children, and first you got to love yourself, learn to love yourself. And if you do love your children as well, you want to stop that cycle.
Yeah.
It's okay to walk away because you're not only protecting yourself, you're protecting a generation too.
Yeah.
As you are breaking the generational cycle.
Right.
So you may not have the finances, but there is support out there. There are people out there, there are agencies out there who will support you. And leaving is the biggest thing. You have to be ready to leave because if you're not ready to leave, you're going to step out and you're going to go right back there.
Yes.
And you're going to know when you step out, mentally, you may feel better, but it's not going to happen overnight either. It's going to be a process.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, there's not going to be a magic one. And today you may feel great. Tomorrow, you start missing the stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to start missing your bed,
right.
Shelter, if financially you're not able to. But the peace that you will get, and when you know you're creating a new generation with your children, that is what should kind of empower you to move forward because sometimes it's about us, but it's not really about us, especially if we have children. Yeah. If you don't have children, it's easier.
Right. Yeah.
It's easier because you don't have to think about anybody else but yourself.
Right.
So it is okay to walk away. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to need that support. So I'm not going to tell you all if you're a Christian, please don't fast and pray. Please don't kill me for that one because I'm not telling you that. But without faith, without works is death.
Oh, yes. Faith without works is death. I like that. I like that.
Yes. So you got to have the faith. You got to fast. You got to pray. But you need to put the work in.
Action behind it.
You got to put the action in there. Some churches may even want to do not believe in the divorce, the separation, and that's when the other painful. I know of this couple, they used to work, and every money that wife made, the husband took it.
Yeah, of course.
And if she opened her mouth, she gets it. This day they're still together 42 years.
Wow.
but she stood in the mess
Wow.
for 42 years. And before they were married, there was still this control, this coercion of everything. Her money was not hers.
Yes.
You know, I remember once she was on contraceptive when he beat the,
Wow.
he wanted to control the narrative of her body
Wow, of the
as,
body. Mm-hmm.
as well. And because of the church that they were attached to, complaining was not an option.
No.
My sister, you got to work it out. This is your husband. This is what he says. So shall it be.
Right, so shall it be. Exactly.
so,
Yeah.
so shall it be. But it's okay. Anybody who tells you this, it's it's not so. It's okay for you to value yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Your self-worth is it. Do not let anyone take that away. Because that's not how it's supposed to be. You have, and it's hard sometimes to grasp that power and to hold on to it. But even if you do go back, still bring up the courage to stand up for yourself.
So, right.
And if it's the norm within the family, I have so many examples. I had a staff, and she said her husband was very adamant. The hospital and everything, the psych ward. She came out,
Oh
and
my
I
God.
was having a conversation with her, and she went back in another relationship, another abusive relationship. But at the end, she realized. She said, we were talking, and we were in a group setting as well. She said, I didn't know anything different.
Oh yeah.
Because this was my mom. These are my own
Yes.
way of life. I didn't know that I could speak up.
Exactly. Because
And
it's
when
normalized.
it's normalized, it becomes a normal phenomena for you. This is what I see, this is what I know. And it was so normal for her that when she started hearing a different narrative, how valuable she was, the woman, as a human being, and she was nobody's, as we would say in Jamaica, nobody's beating stick, you
Right.
know, she started gaining more self-respect for herself.
Confidence.
She started building up that confidence.
Right.
She started speaking out. But during the process of her speaking out, that hand was reaching her. She had to learn to fight.
Right. Yes.
She had to learn what it was to fight back. And I wouldn't want any woman to have to point where they have to respond with physical,
Yes.
with doing anything physical, physical violence, violence. So it's best you leave that, because somebody could knock you and you hit your head and it's all over.
Yes.
You understand? So it's
Yeah.
best you leave. This young woman I'm speaking of, she didn't want to leave the money because she was accustomed to
Custom, right, for a certain lifestyle too.
a certain lifestyle. So she couldn't walk away from the lifestyle, away from the name brand truck that she drove, from the
Yes.
swiping the card and all of that. So even though she was fighting back, she did gain some power in terms of having a voice for herself. But on the flip side, she was accepting the physicality of the relationship because she didn't want to leave
Right.
the monetary aspect of the relationship.
Mhm.
So it is a struggle. And her mom was right there, and her mom was even empathetic because she had gone through the same situation and she survived it.
Yeah, yes.
So again, we come back to where we normalize.
Normalize it.
We
Exactly.
normalize it. So anybody who is hearing, it's not normal. It's abnormal behavior.
Behavior. No.
And it can be very hard. But there are women out there who will support you. There's women out there who might want to shame you, but on the flip side, women out there who would hold your hand through this journey. There are groups out there.
Right.
They're in churches, they're in hand. Because sometimes you don't want it to be the preaching topic. You know,
Yes.
tell the pastor you don't want to hear it when you go to church on Sunday. Because
Right.
you hear it and you may go home and whoop your butt when you come home.
Right. Of
But
course.
you just don't want to feel embarrassed. But sometimes you got to go through that rough spot of
You-
embarrassment and everything
Yes.
to walk into your better tomorrow or
I
the
like that.
sunshine of your tomorrow.
Yes.
Yesterday's darkness does not necessarily have to come over into today's sunshine.
Mm.
So seek the counsel or the support of supporting sisters can support you because they're out there. Get into therapy if you can. A lot of health insurance will cover the therapy.
All right. Yep.
You know, if you move into a shelter, you know, like you spoke about earlier, some men will try to find where you are
Yes.
and they will wait for you at that shelter. The man jump over the fence, run right up to the girl's room. Before she could enter in her room, he was pounding on her.
That's the manipulation right there.
Yes, he, you know, he found her.
Oh, well, I didn't
But
mean it. You laughed. I just meant that as a joke. Gaslighting. So you got to know the signs. My biggest drive from what you were saying, like this. First of all, let me let you finish. I'm sorry. So did she? I hope did she leave with him? Did she go with him?
no, she didn't. But at the same time, you know, after speaking to her and, you know, we were doing the counseling with this other one who the guy jumped over the fence, because I'm talking about this now,
Right.
with the jumping over the fence. She was the one who was texting this man. She was the one who gave the man the information of where she at. She was sneaking, you know, and being with him on the down low. And I would say to her, I said, I get it. You have feelings, you have a kid, there's still emotions that involve,
Trauma
but you
bonding.
have to
Got
make that
trauma
choice.
bonded with that person.
Yes, yes,
Even though
absolutely.
you know it's not right, but you have that, like you said, emotional connection.
Connection,
It's going to
connection,
take a while to
mm-hmm,
get your
to
whole body
get there. So it goes
detached.
back
Your
to
mind. It's hard.
not shaming her at all,
Hmm.
because
Losing
yes,
friends and some.
made the, you made the connect. So we're not going to shame you because you made the connect because you're human. But you still have to fudge forward. You still have to move forward. You had a lapse in judgment, but now you got to learn from this and move forward.
I like that.
So that's the key. Learn and move forward.
You
Even
had a
though you may
lapse
fall
in
back,
judgment.
a lapse in judgment, but you step in the beginning to walk away, to leave.
Leave.
So
Yes.
that means you have it in you. You're going to have your weak days. But when you have your weak days, don't you ever think
Right.
that man could kill you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot
Not
of
going to.
domestic violence cases, this how you, they lure you back. If you go back, that's where a lot of the killings happen, because they're like, how dare you? Oh, now you think you can live. Or sometimes they might use different people or even the system, and they use money, different things like that. If you leave, I'm going to cut you off. I want you to stay your ground, stay where you are, because the support you have will guide you and
Will
give
guide you.
the necessary direction that you need to go with you and your kids. It's we're not diminishing any level of how scary these times can be, but you have to do it questions, because if you go back many times, what I've learned both personally and through seeing a lot of clients, and you can add on to it too, Miss V. I like that, Miss V. People call me Miss G, so I like Miss V. Is that let's being there, being that safe space, but saying, okay, You say, okay, I'll do therapy. I want you to come home. I'm agreeing. I will I will change. Don't listen to those words, promises. You got to tell me, okay, I want to see you. Show me evidence of therapy. Let your actions speak for you, not your words. If you start showing me how your therapy is now changing you as a human being in your actions over 6 months to a year time period, sometimes even I recommend in my practice to a lot of women, a year to 2 years of staying apart and him doing his work, you doing your work in therapy. And you would definitely need to do some childhood trauma to unpack what led you, first of all, to get entangled in that type of relationship, whether you were love bomb from the beginning, you didn't see it coming and it changed on you. Give yourself that grace. My therapist always says, you need to give yourself grace. And this is the thing that I've been learning to say, give yourself that grace because you have gone through hell and back. Use that year to do trauma therapy, and get some skill. If you're not back to work and school, go back to school, do some online classes, build yourself up, empower yourself. Don't victimize yourself, because there is hope out there.
No. Don't keep and don't choose. You gotta, as you're going through the journey, you have to start identifying what made me, why was I attracted to this person?
Yes.
You gotta go to the root cause. This person reminded me of my father, my brother, someone in the community that I respected, that I liked.
That's it right there.
You don't recognize and be able to identify what attracted to you to this person in the first place, as one of the young ladies I spoke about, you're going to go back into the same pattern. You're going to choose that same kind.
Yes.
So with that kind of trauma, then sometimes these men is learned behavior. A lot of the time is the trauma that they face themselves. A lot of the times is their self-esteem is very low, and it's the power and control.
Yes.
Sometimes the men also have been abused.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, 100%, hands down.
You have to be able to recognize your choices. Why did I choose this person? So you don't even repeat that same pattern of going and choosing somebody else with the same qualities of this person, because you may just fall right back to where you just ran from.
I love that. I would love to just, if it's a video I'm watching, I'll pause it and replay right now. What you just said, that self-accountability, because it's easy. A lot of time as women can say that, oh, he's awful. He did me wrong, and being that victim. But recognizing in the process of healing, what is the part you play too as a woman, and healing from that point on, and tracing back, what did I do wrong here in this process? How did I contribute also? How did I enable also? How do I do better? If you're going back to that same person or going with somebody else, and even in the midst of all that, how do you also dealing with your kids to raise them better, especially the man child, as you're raising your boys, to not repeat that same cycle by recognizing what kind of attachment did you have growing up that now you were trauma bonded with that person who might have their own trauma to begin with. And now that whole thing just kind of blew over your head.
Spiral out of control. And I just want to jump back, as you say, the children. Big on children.
Yes.
The example that you set for your boys and your girls, that's important. Because your daughter may now pattern your lifestyle. Your daughter may now choose the husband that is just like her father, or the boyfriend that was in the house, or the man friend that you had, or whatever partner it is, whether it's a same-sex partner who used to be so, abusive towards you, whatever kind of partner you have. Mother watching, your sons are watching. So it's either you're going to take a gamble, either they choose the same that you have chosen, or they go into the extreme opposite direction. But whatever it is, you have to be able to recognize what's happening. And I know it's easier said than done
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
because a lot of it is in the moment. Nice talk. It's like when you go to school and you learn something and you get it the book way, you learn it from the textbooks. When you go out in the field, you realize, oh my God, this is so different.
Oh, yeah.
So within the midst of the abuse, no matter even what you go when you go into therapy, as we give you the tools, we help you to recognize,
Right.
recognize what is going on, the tools that can help you, regardless of what tools it is that's best for you, and you can identify them yourselves.
Right.
The therapist is not gonna be able to tell you exactly what's going to make suggestions, but you have to choose. You have to put it
Choose.
out of that pot. What
Yes.
for
Yeah.
you? But you also have to remember the children in all of this because, and I'll give you one quick example. There is this couple, and the daughter was very mad at the mother for letting the father abuse her because she said mom should be stronger than that and else. But when mom pushed the dad out of the home and say you can't stay here, the daughter was mad to say you took my father. And this is a real story. You took my father away from me. You're so mean. Now he's out there suffering and he's out there this
Oh
and
my
that. It was the same daughter that was pushing the mom to kick the father out and to
God.
stand up for
Right.
herself.
Yourself.
So at the same time, if you're listening this, know that you have to stand firm on what you believe in because your children, what they say, because they're hurting as well and
They're hurting. They're grieving. They're
can
grieving.
also keep you into the situation because you're
Right.
trying to please everyone except yourself.
Yourself.
And sometimes you got to be selfish.
You have
If
to.
you got to run to save your life, you might have to leave your children at a safe place to
Right.
save yourself before you can save those children.
Right. Absolutely. Sometimes
And
that's how it
it
is.
may sound very, very harsh. But if you can't take care of yourself, you can take care of nobody else.
Right.
It's
You
going to be 10 times
can.
harder for you. So you have to make sure you take care of yourself as you are planning how to take care of the others that you have attached
Yes.
to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you don't, you'll only be bringing everyone down with you as self. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
man, that woman who is abusive to you, or whatever relationship you're in, they just gonna have you right where they want you. They
Oh,
know you're bad. If it's the kids, oh, I'm gonna take your kids away from you. I'm
yeah.
gonna report, call ACS or
Yes.
whoever,
Yes.
whatever
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're bad,
on
mom.
you, and you're gonna stay because you're a bad mom or
That's
you're
a
this. Yeah,
psychological trauma
that's a
being there.
psychological
Mm-hmm.
bondage that they're gonna hold you in. But you have to protect your life with everything that you got.
God.
God gave you a life to protect. And if you want to go fast and pray, go fast and pray because I'll always throw God back in there. He's that God that will help you, but you got to make that first step because he'll never force his way.
You all know.
Never force anything on
Right.
you, but try to connect with the right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
your mother. I hear a mother only in December said something about her daughter and her daughter's husband. I don't know what's wrong with her because he's a good man. He provides for her. So she needs to treat him better and give him what he wants
Yes.
because he's a good man. I don't know what she's talking about. So I said to her, I said, how could you even say that? Yes, he provides. But you don't care that he pushed her down the stairs?
Exactly. Right.
Oh, maybe she did something why he pushed her down the stairs because she has a potty mouth.
Oh, yeah.
So you're justifying that?
Justify.
So, so I will say, even if it's your mother who is justifying it, and you gotta leave your mother at some point,
Boundaries.
gotta create those boundaries.
You gotta
You
create.
gotta empower yourself before you can even have a serious relationship with your mom and dad. Love
Right.
some people from a distance. It's
But this,
okay.
oh, absolutely.
It's
And
okay.
oh,
It's okay. So
wow.
find the power, as you said, within you to make that.
Within you. Oh my God. The find
Almost like you are an alcoholic who have made the decision to change, to not drink. You might still have it in your brain to be attached to somebody who has that personality to control you.
Yep.
You have the power to say no, even
No.
though it may, be sticking you every now and again. Oh, I like that person. But make sure you try to recognize that falling back into the space
Yeah.
where
Of course,
um,
recognizing what
that's
it is.
that's important.
Yeah, it's very, very. If you've gone over and you're here, you're listening to us and you're thinking, should you do I'm still reading this infamous book called Should I Stay or Should I Go? Dr. Ramani wrote this book. And if you're listening to me, there's another resource you can utilize. Her channel focuses a lot on toxic relationship as well. Her name is Dr. Ramani. But she wrote this book that says, should I stay or should I go? So when you have over and over and you're considering, even that thought alone, when that thought crosses over, or you have a friend or a sister who calls you and say, what do you think? When you go like, something is not right. Should I say, should I go? I think I should go. I think I should go. I should go. You keep ruminating. Sometimes that cycle of abuse can leave you where you're very decisive on things. But look for the resources. Get sound advice or sound counsel. Call a licensed counselor, licensed therapist like Ms. V herself. Call myself. Call 211. Start there. They'll connect you to shelters. In Connecticut, we have so many. If you go online, so many will show up. I can throw out names, but wherever you find yourself in the neck of the woods, you just have to go online, find where it is. Even if you're not going there, you can start talking on the side, finding the resource, aligning yourself. So you have to plan this to say what you need to do for yourself, like Ms. V said, for yourself first, like they say in the airplane. In the case of an emergency, take the mask, put it on you first. Don't try to be looking at those babies trying to put. If you all of a sudden pass out, guess what? Your baby's all going to pass out. So you got to put that mask on so you are breathing. And remember to breathe. Breathe from the gut. And then you have your core, you are centered. Then you can put. Ms. V said something that's very important takeaway. And I'm actually going to repeat that. It gives me goosebumps. Sometimes, as mothers, you have to make the most difficult decisions. And some people have to do that. You put the kids somewhere where it's safe, maybe with a family member, maybe with a friend. Seek shelter for yourself while your kids are somewhere safe. Then maybe after a while, get together. But it's critical in those moments to talk to your children. You might think children don't see, don't hear, or they don't know you're protecting them. No, they are very smart. Even as young as 3, 4, 5, they know what's up. They know what's going on. They can sense it. Talk to them. You don't, at the level that they are, talk to them where they are, meet them where they are, explain things to them, but you got to make those choices. We will come to you again today. If you're going to sit here, we'll talk on this topic all day, and we'll have cases because this is what we do on a daily. We do that all the daily. Some of us have experienced it ourselves too on a personal level. So we have the hands-on experience. So reach out to any of us. For me, my channel, put any comment there. I can connect you with Ms. V for support, or anybody she will know that we can give you the resources you need. Send us questions, comments. Let's keep this conversation going on toxic relationships, coercive control, especially domestic violence, bringing awareness. Let's learn the signs before we get messy. Let's learn the signs before anybody get killed or children and mothers get killed. For what I say all the time, if you can whip it in your mind, guess what? You can whip it everywhere else in your life.
Absolutely.
So I thank you so much, Ms. V, today for making this time for us. We're going over time, but this has been a real relationship. And I think maybe next time we can delve into a live session where people can tune in live and ask questions. But we'll throw this out there for people to listen out, and we'll connect back sometime when we do make the time again. But I'm so appreciative of you and your time. You have a wonderful chat offline of our next steps.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
all right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and God bless you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Preview.